Hey, welcome back to Russ Torter Garage and the 71 Nova, LS swap, T56 swap, all that stuff. But that's not what, well, I guess it is sort of what I'm talking about right now, but there's not going to be a big video this weekend because I got swap meets to go to like every day. We got one in New York, one in New Jersey, one in Connecticut, as long as the weather holds out. So I'm not going to be turning wrenches. I'm going to be shopping for parts for the Nova and other builds that are coming up. So while there won't be any big video, there are two quick things I can go over just because it's what I'm running into right now. One, we're going to talk about broken exhaust manifold studs. And two, I'm going to quickly talk a little bit about programming your PCM for standalone use. So first thing we'll do is go over the exhaust stud mess thing, which of course everybody who's done an LS swap has run into, unless somebody already ran into it before you got there, because I have not yet had an LS that didn't have at least one broken exhaust manifold stud, unless somebody previously had it fixed, because there's always at least one. And yes, it's a common thing, and a million people have had videos on it and such, but they do things similar, and of course I do things a little different. All right, so anybody who's worked on an LS has seen this before. Yes, I'm going to use a MIG welder to get this stud out of the head. The difference is I'm not going to use a washer, and I'm not going to use a nut. Why should I waste my hardware for this? The thing is, it's the heat that gets this thing out of here. And all you have to do is burn the MIG material, the filler, right onto the stud and build it up enough that you can get a vice grip on it. The heat from the weld is what will break the bond and get that thing loose so you can get it out. And all you do is build it up enough that the vice grip can grab it and get it out of there. So we fire up the welder, we'll put it on kill all the way up, and let's burn this thing out of here. I'm not using the big MIG. This is just a 110 volt, 140 amp MIG that I've had for who knows how many years, a long time. One thing though to keep in mind that people don't seem to talk about is where you put your ground. When you're welding, you're basically sending electrical current through your positive, wherever you're welding to, down to the ground here. So if you put this clamp on the other side of the engine, you're sending electricity all the way through the engine, including possibly through bearings and anything else, and you can ruin things. So whenever you're welding, try to get the ground as close as you can to where you're burning the weld in, especially like when you're welding a rear axle, if you're putting perches on, if you're putting brackets on a rear axle. Don't put the ground all the way on the other side of the axle, because you're going to send electricity through all your bearings and you can brinle them. I've seen it. Put your ground right where you're welding so the electricity stays right where you're welding. All right, so now I'm going to burn this and see if it does like I say it's supposed to. So hot it's dripping, so that may not work the first time. Oh yeah, I'm a little low. But even though I only got it halfway on the stud, looks like it's turning. There it is. Try not to break my spark plug. We got to use those. Look at that. Even though can hardly see with this mask on, and I only burned it to half of the stud. It came right out. The heat is what breaks that bond and lets you get it out of there. When you weld a washer and a nut on the very outside of the stud, the reason you end up doing it 2, 3, 4 times is because all the heat is being concentrated on the outside edge. It doesn't get the stud hot. And then you end up just breaking the nut off and re-welding and re-welding. You know what? I need that hardware to put my cars together. So this is the way to go. And this side of the engine, I really got unlucky. 1, blow flush. 2, sticking out. 3, blow flush. So I've got 3 of them here to do on this side. And everybody hates them when they're below the surface. I'd actually rather have them that way because it makes it easier to get the weld in there. It's the heat that gets these things out of here. There you go. So you don't have to drill them out. You don't have to waste your hardware. That's the way to go. Even the one that I have here that's half sticking out, I'm not going to put a vice grip on that. I'm going to weld right to that piece that's sticking out and see if it comes out. And if it breaks off flush, it'll come out just like the others. This one's going to be tough because the dipstick tube is in the way, but this tube is already broken thanks to somebody before me. So I'll just bend it out of the way. We got new ones if needed. Let's see. Did we get it? Yep. It's tight. It might break off. Yep. That's okay. Burn it again. And the ones that are broken off not flush are actually harder to get out because the heat doesn't get down inside. It's all on the outside. So in some ways, it's better to cut it down closer to the head without actually cutting into the head. Because you want the heat to get into the stud. And this has broken off just about down to the head. So now I have a better chance of it coming out than when it was much longer. All right, we got it coming out. I had to do this 4 times. It kept chipping away until it got closer to the cylinder head, almost flush, which is easier to get out, and then I was able to get enough heat in it to break it loose. They will come out. Sometimes it takes multiple shots, but you can do it. All right, one left on the end, below flush. So easier to take care of. And then I have to remove this plug. And they need heat to get out as well. Usually they're pretty tight. And I'm going to drill and tap that for my water temperature sending unit for whatever gauges go in this car. I'll tap it to 3/8 pipe. I did a whole video on that. If you look for my video on free gauge adapters, I go over how to set that up. All right, let's get this last one out of here. See if we got it. Yes, we did. Don't break the spark plug. No, I'm not taking the spark plugs out because I don't want to risk any sparks going in the cylinders. There we go. So the ones that are broken down flush are easier to get out than the ones that stick out. That's for sure. That was only half burned on there. Well, I thought I was done with the exhaust bolts. And then I went back to the driver's side and I was just sticking a drill bit in all the holes just to make sure they're all clear. And one went like halfway in and stopped. And I was like, whoa, what's that? Where are we here? That's a drill. That's a broken drill or a tap. Can't tell now because I'm welded to it. But somebody was drilling out one of these things, broke the tap or broke the drill, probably the tap, and that's what was inside the hole. Yeah, go with the welder. Much better way to go. All right, so now that that is done and the surprise tap is burned out of there, I'm going to do just a quick note on tuning. I am not a tuner. I know enough to be dangerous. What I did was, if you haven't figured out by now, I like to learn things and dig in and experiment and yada yada. But when I started messing with LSs a few years ago, only a few years ago, I dug in deep on all this freeware for tuning, and I spent a good couple weeks just, your bugs, just digging into all these programs and learning how they work. I have used PCM Hammer, I have used LS Droid, I have used Universal Patcher, and of course Tuner Pro. I've used them all. I will say that if you are doing stock LS swaps, no cam swaps, nothing other than turning off security, turning off unneeded DTCs, adjusting your speedometer for correct reading, those kind of things, and segment swaps you can do as well, those kind of items, you don't need HP tuners. I would suggest you get into YouTube and start watching a lot of videos. And the programs that I recommend right now are LS Droid, and of course you're going to have to get Tuner Pro. Both of these are free. Now let me explain what they do. LS Droid, all that program does is talk to your PCM and download the file. Download your tune as what's called a bin file. That bin file is nothing but the data of your tune. LS Droid does not let you modify it or do anything with it. It's strictly for taking the tune off the PCM, and after you have modified it, putting it back on the PCM. LS Droid also has the capability of doing segment swaps, and we'll talk quick about that as well. I'm trying to keep this, this could take hours, so I don't want it to take hours. I'm just going to give you some basic stuff. So LS Droid is a program you want to download. It is free. The thing with LS Droid is, in order to use it, you have to buy their interface. I bought 2 of them from them to support them, just so I had a backup. I think mine were VX Pros at that. I think they have a newer version now. They're not real expensive, but for the amount of work that the guy over there, Pete, has done with this program, it is well worth supporting him. Absolutely. You have to buy that interface to use that program. It didn't used to be that way, but there were some changes made with the other manufacturers' interfaces that stopped them from working. So you're going to have to buy his little plug-in interface in order to use his program. Well worth it. That program is the most user-friendly. It's set up very nicely. I love it. So that is strictly for downloading, like I said, and uploading the program. Now, once you have that data on your computer as a bin file, and all it is data, your tune data, you can't look at it. You need something to look at that data and modify it. That's where Tuner Pro comes in. Completely free program to download. The thing is, you're going to hear about XDF files. When you download a tune, it's a string of data. Think of it as in order. Your name, your address, your cell phone number, your state, city, whatever, in order, okay? In order to look at that data in order like that, you need what's called an XDF file. That XDF file takes the data from your tune and puts it in organized tables and rows, okay? The problem comes in, we'll talk about operating systems. There are different operating systems on these PCMs. Within the same year range, you can run into different operating systems. Each operating system, which your tune will be under a certain operating system, each one has that data in a different order, okay? So if you were to take your data, your name, address, phone number, in order, and look at it with the wrong XDF file, and you viewed it, it wouldn't show up as name, address, and phone number. It might show up as phone number, name, address. It would be out of order. And what happens is, if you don't have the correct XDF file for your tune operating system, the data will not be lined up correctly when you view it. And then if you modify it, it will be corrupt. So, the XDF files, they don't just come out of the sky. There are guys out there who spent hours and hours and hours creating these XDF files. Because they take so much time to make and are so intricate, there are a limited number of them out there. What they've done is they've focused in on a few operating systems and basically created XDF files for those, expanded them, made them better and better over time, but there are not XDF files for every operating system. Now, this is not a problem because you can change operating systems. Let me explain that quick. So as an example, for the P01 PCM, which is 1999 to 2002, drive-by cable, I use them on lots of swaps. The operating system that has the most support ends in 156, okay? I don't know the whole 6-8 digit number in my head, but I just call it the 156 operating system. There is a very good XDF file for that 156 operating system. So if you download a tune with LS Droid, it'll tell you the operating system number. And LS Droid is so good, it'll say, hey, your operating system is not common and they don't have an XDF file on it, just for your own knowledge. So what you may want to do is do an operating system change or conversion. So if I download, let's say, as I said, 156 is the most popular operating system for the P01. If I download a tune and for some reason it's some wacky number, I don't remember the others, 322 or something like that, but something that does not have an operating system present. What you can do is you can burn a 156 tune into your PCM and then modify that with the existing XDF file that's out there and make changes. You don't have to stick with your existing operating system if there is no support. And this may be confusing. I'm trying to keep it simple, but you have to get on YouTube and start reading up and watching videos and reading up on all the stuff, and you'll understand it. For the drive-by cable, like I said, most popular operating systems 156, and there's also an XDF file for 125. 125 is a flex fuel operating system. I used that on the 55 Buick. For the 03 to 07 Classic, there are multiple operating systems throughout those years. The one that has the most support is 603. So if you had a truck with a 405 operating system on it, there's no XDF file, meaning you're not going to be able to edit that file using Tuner Pro. But you could load a 603 tune on it from another truck and edit that one and use that. So that's what I'm saying. You've got to dig into this and understand what you're doing here and how it all works. So it is all doable for free. It is not user friendly, as in just going to say hit this button, although LS Droid is as close as you can get to that. You are going to have to understand what you're doing. Once you understand that, how to load an XDF file and how to get the correct operating system if you don't have it already, then you can go in with Tuner Pro and turn off security, turn off DTCs, edit your speedometer, all the good stuff you want to do for free. The other thing where operating systems come into play is for segment swapping. What that is for is putting dissimilar engines and transmission combinations together that didn't exist. Just like this 6.0 here. I'm putting a 6-speed behind it. Never came with a 6.0 from the factory. My original Escalade tune, operating system 156. Perfect. Because the 2002 Z28, also 156 operating system. So what I can do with LS Droid is, and you have to have those tunes on your computer. You can download them. There are places to get those tunes. I took the engine side of the original Escalade tune and combined it with the transmission side of the Z28 and created a 6.0 M6 tune. All right, you copy over both things, transmission files and the calibration files. There's two different things. I don't remember off the top of my head now I did it, so I don't want to get too confusing. But it's not like just going to the software and hitting a switch and saying, I'm running an M6. It doesn't work that way. You have to do the segment swap. Same thing comes into play if you're going to do a 4L80 swap, 4L60 to 4L80. You have to do a segment swap. So you either find a tune that has the engine and transmission combination that you already want and mess with that. Like Express Vans had a 4L80 behind both the 4.8 and the 6.0. But if you had a 5.3 and you wanted to put a 4L80 behind it, I don't know of anything that came with that. So you would have to take, say, a truck 5.3, the engine side of the tune, and then a 4L80 transmission side of a tune and put them together. And they have to be the same operating system in order for that to work. You also have to do, you have to do wiring changes with that as well. Just a couple of wires have to flip, but understand you have to do that segment swap. So I don't want to get too crazy with it, too in depth, because to teach you or talk about it correctly would take hours and hours and hours, because there's just a lot to it. Once you've done it and understand what you're doing, it's not that crazy. But it's like anything. It's much easier to do something than explain it, because it can just take forever. And I'm not a pro. So I suggest if you want to get into this stuff for free, again, just for basic LS swaps, no cams, that kind of stuff, those programs, LS Droid and Tuner Pro, are the ones I prefer to use right now. PCM Hammer does work, and Universal Patcher works as well, but I like to use LS Droid and Tuner Pro. And I'll just put this in there. The reason I say no cam swaps is because you can go in and do the basic adjustments for a cam, say to get it to idle, make your airflow adjustments, make your fuel adjustments, I'll be doing it with this engine. However, to actually tune it correctly after the cam is in, you need to be able to log data. And there are loggers out there for the free software, but I have not tried them yet. If you're going to do a whole lot of this, then I would have somebody tune it for you, or get if you're not going to do a lot of this, I would have somebody tune it for you. If you're going to do a whole lot of cam swaps and all that kind of stuff, maybe you want to get HP Tuners. They have an excellent data logger. I've seen it in action, and that way you can tune your VE tables and get everything to work. So that's up to you. Myself, I like the free stuff because it's just the way I am. I like to save money, and I'm certainly not going to spend credits on basic LS swaps when I can do it for free. Because the only time you really need HP Tuners is if you're going to do cam swaps and you need to do tuning. But just to get the car running and driving, you can do it for free, and you can get it running well enough at least to get it to a tuner or to somebody who can tune it for you. And one last thing, there's always something. This is why I don't want to get into tuning. You're going to have to make, or you should make, a bench harness. That way you can program your PCM right at a laptop or a desktop or whatever you got. Get yourself a 12-volt power supply. I've got an old Radio Shack one that I've had for 100 years, just to power up the PCM, and then you can do all your tuning right there. There are videos out there on how to make a bench harness. It's the same harness for 99 all the way to 07 Classic, I'll say. The newest I've done is 06, but it works. So build yourself a bench harness, look into LS Droid, look into Tuner Pro and Tuner Pro RT, which is real time, which is another version of it. They work the same as far as I can tell from what I've done. You can look into PCM Hammer. You can look into Universal Patcher. Look at them all. See what you prefer to use, what you want to do, and have fun with it. But I am not going to do tuning videos because it's just way too much. I don't have the time to do it. So I'm sorry about that, but that's the way it's got to be. So I'm going to get back on this, clean this thing up some more, and then I think it's swap meet time. And then when we come back to this build, all right, we'll do the cam swap and change the oil pan. And I even splurged and bought a $35 timing set, even though I may not use it. And what else I got? Pilot bushing, a pilot bearing for the 6-speed, and you know, whatever else we run into this, putting this in the Nova, and we'll be back on it shortly. So until then, have a good one. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for following along. And as always, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate it. Tell your friends. See you.